My name is Tanya Klimenko. I am a senior lecturer in biomedical sciences and I work at Sheffield Hallam University. I have a PhD in molecular biology and 22 years of experience in research. Some of it, about a third of it, research in viruses.
You've just come off from doing a speech. I only arrived at last minute, so I didn't catch most of it. In a nutshell, could you just tell me what it is about the virus, that your concerns are?
So I spoke to people in this park and I asked them to start questioning. As a scientist, I believe we cannot live without questioning what's happening. Do you mind if I take off my glasses because of the... So as a professional, I am worried about lack of scrutiny and lack of good data, lack of publicly available data, and lack of adherence to well-established guidelines in how decisions about treatment of COVID or screening for COVID or vaccination against SARS-CoV-2. So lack of scrutiny, lack of adherence to guidelines, lack of good open data about it coming from government and authorities. This is what makes me question it as a professional.
The seriousness of this virus as an epidemic, and it clearly is a very serious epidemic, but equally the fact that actually the great majority of people will not die from this. And I'll just repeat something I said right at the beginning because I think it's worth reinforcing. Most people, a significant proportion of people will not get this virus at all at any point in the epidemic, which is going to go on for a long period of time. Of those who do, some of them will get the virus without even knowing it. They will have the virus with no symptoms at all, asymptomatic carriage, and we know that happens. Of those who get symptoms, the great majority, probably 80%, will have a mild or moderate disease. Might be bad enough for them to have to go to bed for a few days, not bad enough for them to have to go to the doctor. An unfortunate minority will have to go as far as hospital, but the majority of those will just need oxygen and will then leave hospital. And then a minority of those will end up having to go to severe and critical care, and some of those, sadly, will die. But that's a minority. It's 1% or possibly even less than 1% overall. And even in the highest risk group, this is significantly less than 20%, i.e. the great majority of people, even the very highest groups, if they catch this virus, will not die.
But then another reason why I question it is what you hear, my English is not native. I am originally from Ukraine. I grew up in Soviet Union. I was 15 when Soviet Union collapsed, so I was not an innocent baby. My forming years, my teenage years, they were at the period when Soviet Union was collapsing, when the whole narrative around Soviet Union was collapsing. So I saw government propaganda falling in pieces.
Would you say it was similar to what's happening here?
And that's exactly what I'm saying. What I see now around me is how the government propaganda is being built from pieces. So it's in Soviet Union, I saw how it collapses, but I saw it in its might and then how it collapsed. And here, it's like a backwards video. I see how it starts from small pieces and then it builds up, builds up, builds up. And I'm extremely concerned. It's happening in what's supposed to be developed democracy, in what's supposed to be a country where I moved to and my kids are here because supposedly this is a country where there is freedom of speech, human rights, and some common sense, and not wall of government propaganda and censoring and oppression. So that's what shocks me.
And that freedom of speech seems to be being suppressed at the moment with governments. I just want to ask you, back on the vaccine, you got concerned about it, and the government are thinking of fetching it into play this year, Christmas time. Will you be taking the vaccine?
No, I will not be taking this vaccine. I have to say I am pro-vax. I have to say I believe in vaccination. My children are vaccinated. I am vaccinated and I am grateful to my parents for vaccinating me. And if there is a genuine reason for a vaccine and there is a good vaccine which benefits outweighing risks, I will take a vaccine for such virus, protecting from such disease. in current situation, with what data available to me, I do not see a reason for this vaccine to be brought in such rush, and most importantly, I am totally against it being mandatory.
It was classed as a HCID in January 2020, wasn't it? A high consequence infectious disease, COVID. Did you know that it was actually reduced from high consequence infectious disease on the 19th of March 2020, 4 days before they locked down the country?
Yes, I know this. Yes, I know this, and I know what some countries never locked down, and they had exactly same curve of growing up cases and death, and then falling down. So I also know what lockdown did nothing, in my opinion, to the natural cause of this virus.
So do you not think then, because of the way they're saying that the people are dying, do you not think it should be raised back up to a HCID, high consequence infectious disease?
No, I don't think so. I think there is a big problem with how deaths are recorded in this country and in some other countries. I believe the way the COVID deaths are recorded in this country is not rigorous enough. I believe there is a very high risk, and I'm actually convinced that it's not just a risk, it's what's happening, but deaths are exaggerated.
And I'm going to say Vallance. Was he a doctor or a professor?
So Sir Patrick Vallance.
Yeah, the reason why I mentioned his name, because he was the one who said, you have to be careful about these COVID deaths because they're not always recorded correctly.
It's worth remembering again that the ONS rates are people who've got COVID on their death certificate. It doesn't necessarily mean they were infected because many of them haven't been tested, so we just need to understand the difference.